Good afternoon. We will be beginning in just a minute. Good afternoon, and welcome to Online Ordering, your virtual lifeline. My name is Robert Grimes, and I am the CEO of the IFBTA, your host and moderator for this session today. But before we get started, let me introduce you to the IFBTA. The IFBTA, or the International Food and Beverage Technology Association, is a not-for-profit trade association that is focused on, you guessed it, food and beverage technology. But our main function is promotion, networking, and the education of our members of all technology within all assets of food and beverage. Membership is open to all operators and suppliers, and actually we have a lot of industry friends as well who work on the periphery of food and beverage technology. But when it comes to meeting and getting together, whether virtually or in person, everyone has an equal seat at the table. The IFBTA has global reach and has chapters in many regions around the United States, North America, including Canada, and also in London, England. But we do events also at the major industry events, which we hope will start again soon. And we have a certification program that helps operators to understand everything about technology. It's actually 20 modules with about 60 different videos in it. And then, of course, the IFBTA has industry partnerships and industry support. But at its heart, and for today's session, the IFBTA is a partner with Clarion Events, which operates the International Restaurant and Food Show of New York, the Western Food Service Expo, and the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Show in partnership with Tech Bites. And so they are our partners producing these Tech Thursdays, and we are very pleased to bring this session to you. Next slide, please. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. You can go ahead and submit any questions via the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. If you submit a question, you can specify which speaker you'd like to answer that question, but please stay away from remarks that regard sales, pricing, political discussions, or disparaging remarks. You can also give your question to the whole panel. The attendees are muted, and if you want to chat or share some comments and communicate with the panel, you can do that using chat. But we would suggest that you use the Q&A tab. And then at the end of the session, we will have about 10 minutes where we will go through the questions and answers. If we don't get through all the Q&A, we actually will distribute those to the panelists after, and we will provide responses after the session. And as with all of our Tech Thursday sessions, a recording of this webinar is going to be made after the call via foodandbeverageshows.com, the IFBTA.org, and other partner websites and social media. Now, for our panelists, we'll turn on your microphones and your video. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panel to you. Next slide, please. And there we go. So welcome to our panel. I'd like you to meet our speakers. What we're going to do today, because this is a very important session, is we're going to ask each of our panelists first to share their perspective, but give a little bit about their company, what their initiatives are, what their history is actually with online. And then if they have an industry perspective, something that they've observed, because all of our panelists actually work with a lot of different people and their peers in the industry. After that, we're going to have a moderated Q&A session with our panel, and then we will open it up for the Q&A itself. The reason I say this is a very important subject for us today is because there's a lot of different aspects to online, and we've had sessions and we've had Tech Thursdays that have focused on online ordering and catering and delivery and curbside, as we did last week. And of course, a lot of the industry uses the word pivot, as they talk about this particular subject, because many people had to pivot into it. But the real question is not just how we use it today, but also how we may take advantage of it going forward tomorrow, whether you used online before or not, and online means many different things to many different people. But I'm not going to provide that definition for you. We're going to go ahead and start with Kathy. And Kathy, if you would introduce yourself, your company, and give us your perspective on what you're doing on online, we're going to start with you.
Sure. I'd say good morning, but it's afternoon. So good afternoon. From sunny California, it's about 90 degrees here. My name is Kathy Alcaras, formerly Sai. So changed my last name. I'm still the same person. I'm the director of IT at Eureka Restaurant Group. I've been here for about 6 months, but I grew up in the restaurant industry and have been in the industry for about 32 years, 14 years in operations and 18 years in IT. Eureka is a restaurant group that focuses primarily on customer service. So prior to the pandemic, we were only doing third-party delivery as form of our online ordering. There was no online ordering for takeout. So our main goal with online ordering is to keep both guests and our staff safe with contactless ordering. When we were mandated to close our restaurants, we had no choice. So before the pandemic, our main focus was to bring the guests to our restaurant, eat our good food, enjoy our handcrafted drinks and local beer selections at our establishment. But online ordering wasn't a primary focus, and we use a third-party delivery, which was not significant. And after the pandemic, we were mandated to close our dining rooms and also patio. So now what? We had to do online ordering. Because you can't survive with just phone calls alone. I used to work at takeout, and you have four lines in your hunt group. How many orders can you take as a person, or even two people? Maybe you can take 4 orders in 15 minutes. But with online ordering, we know the possibilities is that we can increase our sales and potentially make some money during our shutdown. And we made the choice to close down or temporarily close down 20 of our locations and kept 6 open. We successfully reopened almost all of them right now, with the exception of 1. But online ordering did help us maintain our business. And we knew that there was a significant reduction in staff during the shutdown. So online ordering was a solution that we needed in place. And when do we need it? I don't know, today. So we had to make our teams more efficient and not more tedious by bringing online ordering in. And we wanted to make a solution that was fully integrated to our POS and for payment. So it took about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks to get online ordering on board for our restaurant locations after many sleepless nights. Early April, we were fully integrated and up and running with online ordering. But, we had a few challenges with online ordering. The success was online ordering helped us with the sales for the 6 locations that remained open for the 2 months that we had to shut down. And the success had determined when to start reopening our locations, and we quickly reopened the rest of our stores. But there were a few challenges. It was hard to project sales. So it could be busy one week and then slow the next week. It's hard to staff our employees at our restaurants. And there's also equipment issues. We had to make sure our servers were up to date and that it could handle the bandwidth. Our POS terminals were a little older, so we upgraded our terminals. We realized and we need to upgrade the internet bandwidth. So orders are coming in through the internet, so we needed a faster internet service, and eventually we will need it for Wi-Fi. And some of our locations have poor cell signal indoors, so we're testing a cell booster. Our online order was part of the fast track model that our POS vendor introduced to us, so it was very limited in functions. So now we're looking to upgrade to a new system where we can still keep safety in mind, keep contactless ordering, including dining as well. even though we're closed in our dining room, we have our patios open so we can serve our guests in the patio. We have not yet rolled out that solution. We're looking at 2 different solutions to meet our requirements. Our dream is that we want the guests to sit down, scan a QR code that's pre-assigned to a table number, and they can browse their order on the phone, place their orders, keep checks open for reordering, add-ons, and we want them to be able to call servers. We want to have alerts that can alert us if we have guests that did not pay, or if we need to do ID verification, as well as alcohol consumption warnings. Payment on the phone and text to pay, we also want that on our online ordering platform. So we chose to also go with a BYOD, bring your own device, rather than having a kiosk or tablet at the table. So why would we do that? Because simple, technology is expensive. Bring your own devices costs $0 to us in hardware. And you know that you'll find the latest and greatest POS equipment directly from the guests' own pockets. It's these guys. So I think it's gonna be a very different time for us, 2020 and 2021. It's gonna be a lot of change, a lot of changing technology, and soon enough, a lot of full-service restaurants like us will be adapting some type of self-service technology, ordering or payment. And there are many solutions out there, so we just have to find something that matches our culture. And you may hear people say that they feel like technology is being thrown at their face, but in all reality, if we don't adapt as an industry, it will be very hard for us to move ahead with our business. So we don't want to get sick. We don't want our guests to get sick as well. So in the end, we want people that dine with us to feel safe, and we want our employees to be safe. And if we have the right technology to help us, we will get through this difficult time of this pandemic. So that's my brief intro.
Great, thank you. And our next presenter will be Eugen, who is the IT manager at Gibson's Restaurant Group. And by the way, I should have mentioned that actually both Kathy and Eugen are on the board of the IFBTA and my bosses, so to speak. And of course, when we introduced Robert, we're still trying to talk him into joining us as well. So he's shaking his head yes, so that could be a commitment. But Eugen, I'm turning it over to you.
Awesome, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Eugen Yee with the Gibson's Restaurant Group. I've been with the company for 12 plus years, maybe 13 plus years. And we are a 30-year-old restaurant group with 12 concepts throughout the United States, some being Gibson's Steakhouse, and we're more in the fine dining space. Our online initiative is a little different. For the most part, the best way I can say is online ordering is a disruptor for businesses like us, right? So theoretically, we would like you to come to our restaurants. We want to cater to you in terms of services. We want to offer you the best of everything that we can possibly provide, along with atmosphere, drinks, food, and everything that's there. So to try and take that, package it, and provide it to you in terms of a pickup or delivery, or even just an order to go, makes it a bit of a challenge for us. So we're taking the slow road, just to figure out how we can incorporate this and really instill the brand and our core values into what's happening. I think a lot of the features that we found is there's so much recently in terms of products that have been thrown at us in regards to what can be done. We added a few options, and unfortunately it became difficult because we had issues with the actual implementation or the setup and design within our systems. It would have actually created way more fragmentation than we needed. So at that moment in time, we kind of took a halt on things and wanted to look at things more cohesively and understand how the systems would work. So at this moment in time, we're taking the slow approach. We're really utilizing some of the delivery services that we've recently signed up for. Unfortunately enough, we did sign up a month before we were forced to shut down. So we had a month to learn our new systems and actually take our restaurant from a fine dining space to pretty much a fast casual or a quick service restaurant. So for us, it was a big learning curve, and we found a lot of loopholes and issues that we had to actually fill. And I think right now we're trying to offer better services for the customer and the guest experience and fill those holes and give them that same level of service and or quality that they expect from our locations through that online ordering services. You know, a lot of the challenges that we face are the system integrations. I think hardware costs, like Kathy said, I mean, most of the stuff, some of the software that we looked at that we really enjoyed and wanted to work with just didn't work with some of our systems and would require us to swap out our POS or upgrade substantial financial backing on some of the hardware and equipment that we would need to put in place. You know, the guest experience, I think our guests expect a lot from us, and to give them a means of ordering through the online system, not providing them the level of quality and customer service that they expect from us, that's where we wanted to figure out a better way to do things and offer something. But the problem then becomes, right, it's we found something we like and enjoy, but then we have a hardware system that doesn't necessarily work within that ecosphere. So we have a big fragmentation and someone taking an order and placing it into the system, manually manipulating by hand with a lot of mistakes. So, you know, we're kind of in that phase right now of finalizing some processes and trying to get incorporation of, you know, a full online ordering system built into our POS so that, you know, when a customer goes from online to order to, you know, the kitchen, we have a seamless process of production setup, the level of services that we want to give to the customer, and you know, the guest experience. So for us, we're kind of in that limbo phase. We've looked at a lot of different products. We've sourced them and kind of made decisions on moving forward, but then when putting them to the test, unfortunately, we found that they failed, I wouldn't say miserably, but failed at incorporating what the promises that were given to us. So instead of making those quick, rash decisions, we decided quickly to kind of offset that because of our customer base. We didn't want them to suffer along the way. Outside of that, I mean, our restaurants are open. Fortunately enough, Chicago does have 25% capacity, and as you can see, it's a beautiful summer day in Chicago, and everyone wants to eat outside. We still have a lot of people running around trying to get to the restaurants and enjoy life and get back to normal. So, you know, for us, we're fortunate enough on days like this, you know, where we can expect some good business come through. We're hoping that there's no rain or other issues. But the motto here is winter is coming. So we want to make sure that we have some ordering system and online objectives that are going to be placed inside before the cold weather hits.
Well, that's a good way to close up the introduction there, because I was going to bring up later the word winter in Chicago. But that takes us to the Northwest and to Robert Notte, who is the Chief Technology Officer for Mod Pizza. So Robert, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here. And Eugen, I'm not sure if you're a hockey fan, but congratulations on your Blackhawks winning yesterday. It was a pretty exciting game. Anyhow, so Robert Notte, I'm with Mod Pizza. We're a fast casual brand out of the Northwest in Bellevue, right outside of Seattle. We're a 12-year-old company. We're approaching our 500th store. So we have almost 500 stores nationwide. We're in 28 states. We're 80% company-owned stores, 20% franchise. And it's been a really interesting journey, this online journey of ours, because at Mod, we're all about people, right? We exist to serve people in order to contribute to a world that works for and includes everyone. So we encourage our customers to come to our restaurants and experience Mod. So when you start going down the digital road, you know, one of the challenges is how do we extend that outside our doors, right? So we were kind of slow in the digital journey. We're going at a slow pace, and I'll tell you, there's nothing like a pandemic that will turn everything upside down and accelerate a lot of your initiatives. So that's what we did. We quickly deployed a number of digital channels, including delivery and curbside, like I know many of you have done. And thankfully, you know, that's helped, you know, allowing us to not only continuing to serve customers, but also keep employees employed and continue the mod purpose. And I would say now that the challenge for us is, all right, how do we take it to the next level? Now that we've launched these digital channels, how do we improve the guest experience in these digital channels? How do we improve our squad experience in these digital channels? And so there's a number of things that we can do to improve those experiences, and that's been a major focus of ours. And these digital channels are here to stay. I mean, even beyond COVID-19, I think customers will continue to demand the convenience that comes with ordering online and receiving delivery orders and curbside pickup and drive-thrus, all that. I think that will continue to grow, and it's important for us to be able to support that, but not only support it, but deliver that mod experience just like if you were to come into our stores. So that's it.
So thank you, all three of you. So actually, I was making notes here, and you guys have put a lot of different subjects out here. And I wanted to just sort of ask, I think that both Eugen and Kathy, you mentioned one of the challenges was the learning curve. And I could see, Kathy, how in your organization where you're going from basically nothing there to something in 2 weeks, there's a learning curve. But also, Eugen, you're in the fine dining space, and now you're going to teach people to do something that they were used to having, somebody, come in and do. And I'm just sort of curious, how did you quickly deal with that learning curve to implement? Because there are people that are still looking forward to where they go in the future with this.
For us, I think each concept was a little different, and the learning curve was difficult. But again, quickly set up. Our leadership was great at what they did. They were able to run with what challenges that came up. We had meetings consistently every day to try and figure out what we can do better and how to improve upon things. And I think more or less we kind of mimicked what we saw was in the fast food space, more or less, to try and figure out how we can grow the business, what we're doing in the fine dining space to kind of that fast casual design. So we almost cleared out the dining room. It became a production line. There was a whole setup where a lot of the tables were designed for pickups. We had ordering, production, staging, how to set up the napkins, do the roll-ups in a specific manner, bagging. So it was kind of interesting watching how the restaurant grew and went through the process. I think our technology was the limitations on a lot of things that we utilize because we're not designed to kind of operate in that space. So there was a lot of interesting workarounds and fixes and wires run all over the place in terms of the restaurant to make this work. But for the most part, I think the leadership within the operation side of things, they kind of mimicked a lot of what the fast food and fast casual places are doing. And I think that helped us learn how to quickly create that production style setup for our current environment. With that in mind, what we did was we just made sure that as we created this new setup and production style setup, we can kind of downsize that into a more manageable space if we did open up the restaurant as what we did recently. So we had to find a way to kind of lessen the footprint, but still keep the same design and functionality of what we're moving towards. And we learned hard lessons. We made lots of mistakes. We probably gave away a lot of gift cards, but for the most part, we tackled through it and plowed through it, and we were able to survive. And fortunate enough, we have a great team and we have a great leadership that actually took control and was able to provide us that solution.
Kathy?
Yeah, I attributed all of the successes with online ordering to our leadership team. They decided, well, they knew the restaurant, our restaurants best, because I've been here for, I say, about 2 months before we even shut down. So we decided we're gonna limit the menu, cut down the menu to maybe less than a dozen entree items, a few appetizers. We had 1 dessert, and that made our online ordering process much easier because it was a menu that I can manage. menu that our stores can manage. And the good part is that everyone was open to adapting to the new technology. They wanted the company to succeed. So we mentioned to the team, this is what we're going to put in place. We hope that it will work for our company because we've never done it before, and it did. The team were great. They were able to log in and give us their feedback almost immediately. We had daily meetings as well. I mean, like daily as in Sunday through Saturday meetings for at least a month, and we talk about our winning section and then anything that we have challenges on. And it's many days of making changes to online ordering, putting RAM into a computer in the back office because it wasn't able to support the flow of orders. So it was a big learning curve for us, but I'm glad that we got through it. And I think it made us stronger as a company, because now that we made this change, what else can we put in for the future? I think going forward, it's gonna be a lot of technology that's going into restaurants. Hopefully for the good, because we don't want to create more work. We want to make it easier for not just for us, but also for our guests.
Thank you. So Robert, so I know quite a bit about your background, but you're with 500 stores now. Most would expect that when you use the word pizza in a name, that you guys are probably leading and bleeding edge when it comes to the technologies that some of the big three that were there. Yet you needed to accelerate. Now I'm going to guess that may be part of the reason why you were brought on and made the move to help bring technology. But have you been able to leverage the learnings of the pizza industry to perhaps accelerate what you needed to do because those parts and pieces were already there for you?
Amplify and mute.
There you go.
Yeah, you're a technology leader having trouble muting and unmuting. How about that? But yes and no, Rob. We're not like your, Domino's or Pizza Huts of the world. Like I said before, we're about the people. We're fast casual. We want you to come in our restaurants to experience Mod. So though we had a digital roadmap, it was not maybe the highest priority within the organization. But yes, there's a lot of learnings out there that we've applied, and we continue to look at and apply. So when I talk about elevating our guest experience and our employee experience around digital, there's some brands out there that have done a really good job at that, and not looking to reinvent the wheel here in some cases. And to your point, I study these brands closely to see what we can, what makes sense for us.
Now, I would just like to follow that one on, because both you and Eugen in particular have talked about the guest experience. You're in the fast casual segment, he's in the fine dining segment, and you are both extremely focused on that experience that the guest has, very personalized, even with a lot of units in your side. And with higher end fine dining, obviously there's a certain level of experience. How do you marry a online experience with guest experience? Like how do you marry those two together to create a unique and higher level guest experience? And maybe Robert, you take that first, and then Eugen, and I suspect Kathy may have something to say about that as well.
Well, that's a great question, Rob, and I don't know if there's a easy answer to that, especially when you have you're doing delivery through third-party delivery drivers who don't work for you, don't represent your brand, right? How do you make that a better experience? How do you make that a Mod experience? So we're looking at, hey, should we be using our own drivers instead of third-party delivery drivers? Would that help? Or what if we elevate that whole ordering experience through your app or through our website to make that a more Mod-like experience? So yeah, it's a tough one. Something that we want to get to and solve, but so it's a strategy of looking at it on multiple angles, not only from a technology angle, but also from an operational and marketing angle. So,
but it sounds like you did what you needed to do for right now, but in reality, given a little bit more time and the slower pace you normally take, it's going to be going forward, figuring out how to now encompass that as things go semi back to normal.
well, listen, like I said, back in March, it was all about, hey, let's implement these channels right away because we need them. So we did what we had to get them off the ground, and worked. It worked well. But now, like I said, it's all about how do we make it more mod-like.
Okay, Eugen?
Yeah, I think that's the struggle that we're going through right now is it's our core value, right? The customer experience, give them what they want, and anything that we can do to please that guest. So I think for us right now, we're just taking that slow approach on things to try and figure out what is the best option. For the most part, Robert hit it on the head, right? All these delivery services, if we did go through an online ordering functionality and they went through a delivery service, how can we control the driver? How quickly can we get out the food? This is one of our owners' biggest pet peeves, because you got a steak, right? Probably paid $75 for the steak or $60 for the steak, and it's got to travel 20, 30 minutes away from where you are. And that 20 to 30 minutes, can we control, the temperature, if it'll cook longer than what it is, and whether or not that driver actually took his time or made 3 other deliveries, and now that steak and taste and what we're proud of doesn't feel the same to that guest. And being either a new customer who's never been or ordered from us before and decided to give it a try, it would actually lack or hurt us in essence of the brand, or possibly create some issues. So Robert said it perfectly in regards to how do we control that and how can we make that better. We are also looking at trying to bring back delivery services internally and see if there's a better way we can do it within walking distance or within a radius within our locations, and provide kind of that pizza delivery service style setup. But we have to figure out what the best options are. I think one of our leaders decided, if we do delivery services or some type of option, customers want to see the food delivery kind of like an Uber, right? That on the map to see where the driver is in terms of the food and where they're going to be. So if I'm hungry, I can know that it's like 10 minutes away or 30 minutes away. And those are some options that we're trying to investigate and look at and see if it's something that we can roll out with or work with. Some of the bigger name brands already have that built in. Oftentimes we see that it doesn't always work, but at least it's an option there. And then the guest experience. I think when they come in, we're looking at ways to actually, again, still service them, greet them. We might have masks on, we might do different things differently. We want to show them, we're doing our best in regards to trying to keep them safe. And then the same thing with the contactless side of things. We're still outside, standing there in the cold, doing whatever we can to try and greet the guests and make sure that they're getting their needs met, and have any questions and help them out through the way. It's more or less trying to still interact with the guest, or the customer, I should say, as much as possible, to still make sure that they see a friendly face and understand that we're here for them, and providing them the level of service that can be done. It's really difficult, and as I said, it's a challenge when you want to go straight up online. How can we do it better? I think we just have to find a better way. I mean, and this is just me personally. I'm a huge Amazon fan. I don't know if you guys are as well, but Amazon does it well, where if I'm not happy, I know that they're going to do their best. And if we can model ourselves in that same manner and be able to offer that same level of service and take the phone calls and be able to help along the way, that would be probably our best scenario. But how do we get there with the software that's available, the fragmentation, the hardware, the cost? I mean, Amazon right now is a huge company and they have the money to do it. How can we do it as the smaller?
Well, just sort of as a commentary on that, and then I'll ask the same thing of Kathy. But one of the things that the pandemic has brought about, as Robert pointed out, is a lot of change, a lot of rapid change, and things change and opportunities exist. If you think about it, if those third-party services, which a lot of people were complaining about before, didn't exist as they do right now, we would have had a real problem out there. But they did, and so it became plug and play. And as you mentioned, Uber specifically, I am reminded that when I go to China, that I get the opportunity to pick a Prius, a black car, a Tesla, or a helicopter, which I can do in Dubai with Uber. And I suspect over time, we're going to see the delivery services probably evolving, that there's the high-end premium one that probably handles it differently, because given what's going on, it may be tough, for operators to continue the debate as to whether they should do it themselves or not. And I know, Robert, you said that as well. But it's just a thought that came into mind as you were talking about that. Kathy, you also have the same experience problem, because you guys are known for a lot of custom drinks and things. So not only the alcohol issues of in versus out, which may have created, but also how do you continue to create that custom guest experience when you're moving to a online, community, which you didn't have before?
Yeah. Third-party delivery, as everyone brought up, it wasn't much of a challenge for some locations. We had varied percentage of delivery versus takeout. And the difference between delivery and takeout is a price. And our guests know the difference in price because we increased the prices on third-party delivery. So some locations, we have about 20% delivery, 80% takeout. And some locations we had 50%, 50-50. Some we had 80% takeout and 80% delivery and 10% takeout, 20% takeout. So I don't think that delivery is that much of an issue for us, because when we limited our menus, we made sure we kept the items on that can travel well. For instance, I went to Claremont, which is about 30 minutes away from my house. I ordered dinner, and I knew I had to drive home for 30 minutes, and what items can I order to take home? And pretty much everything I took home was still edible. I ordered my steaks rare so I can reheat it in the microwave, and then it came out perfectly medium rare. So I think that was a good call on Eureka's part on changing the menu. But as for alcohol, I'm glad that the Liquor Commission allowed us to, or ABC allowed us to sell alcohol for takeout as well. So we needed to get creative. We didn't want to, how are we going to send our mixed drinks to our guests? So we pre-mix them into concentrate. So we'll have a cup of, we have a Wild Child drink. We have it in a cup with the salt and all the garnish. And you have instructions that's printed on the cup. You mix it at home, you pour it, and you serve yourself. And the other great thing is that we had those beer in the bags that are 32 ounces. They look like little Capri Sun containers. And I think people were just buying it just to get it. But no, we also have good beer. And I was waiting for someone to just stick a straw in their Capri Sun container and just drink the beer straight from the plastic. But I'm glad that we had third-party delivery. If we didn't, I think the first 2 weeks that we didn't have online ordering would have been a problem, and we would have been forced to close our stores. Then once we got our online ordering, I think it was a good tool because it actually taught our guests how to use online ordering and how to use QR codes. So moving forward, when we are allowed to open our dining room, we want to use the current technology. Actually, we want to use technology enhanced. So to bring our guest experience back to the restaurant, we wanted to make sure that the guests can call us. So you can rescan your QR code, call your server. Instead of raising your hand, you call the server. We'll have watches that'll alert the manager or whoever's wearing the watch. It could be a host or it could be an expo. And immediately someone can come to the table. Sometimes you don't know where any of the servers are, and you're limited in employees staffing at your stores.
It's interesting, though, that you just brought that up, because there are a number of technologies that people thought were dying and weren't going to continue. People have tested watches before. Some of the tableside technologies they thought were going to move to watches and things and to other types of devices, and with contactless kiosks were something that may or may not be around. But we've gotten the advantage. This came up last week in a call from Texas, where they have very strict liquor laws, that we've gotten an unintended consequence of being able to deliver alcohol, for instance, and other types of things, and it probably won't reverse itself. And Eugen, I think in your world, you also are delivering that experience if they want to finish it off themselves. Is that correct?
For alcohol?
No, for steaks.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we quickly pivoted to uncooked steaks, and it went very well for us, just because, with that same, again, that experience, by having the ability to offer them the steaks, and then we created some videos, we added instructions on how to cook the steaks itself. I think that helped give the customers that level of experience, the quality of beef that we provide. And just recently, believe it or not, I think we talked about this, as of yesterday, we just will be launching a new retail store for online steaks. And that should be coming very shortly, and it will be available. So, we found that it was such a great success that we decided to create our own retail store itself to sell them online.
Robert, is there something that you guys created that you didn't have before during this?
Not really. We thought about it, whether it's DIY kits or take and bakes. We at the end of the day, we decided if we can't deliver that same quality product that we do in our stores, we'd be just doing a disservice. So right now, it's not really a priority for us. It's the same menu mix, give or take some adjustments, but yeah, we're not doing anything.
But you were able to accelerate the expansion of what you had to outside the store more than you were before.
Yes. And to your earlier point too, we were exploring some other things like kiosks, for example, and we were actually getting pretty close to the pilot kiosks, and then the pandemic hit, and maybe having a device that everyone touches is probably not a good idea, and then dining rooms closed, and that was the end of that. May or may not come back, but we'll see.
See, it's funny, the kiosk thing, we did an early call a couple months ago, and we were talking about kiosks, and we were saying, oh, technologies that are dead. We were talking about what was hot before that's not now. And I got interrupted on this call by somebody who said, wait a minute, look at all the groceries who are now doing contactless, scan your own kiosk. And then you start thinking about that you may do some sort of device that can still be contactless. And then I was corrected on that. So we're not exactly sure what happens with those, because there were other technologies that were sort of maybe not happening, like the food lockers, the hot and cold food lockers. And now they've made a comeback. And also people like Amazon have put lockers not hot and cold in the 7-Eleven. So what we thought wasn't going to happen, maybe it's happening. Ghost kitchens, people were really up in the air about that, but yeah, there seems to be that opportunity as well. So to your point, who knows, right?
Well, and when your channel mix goes from 15% digital to 80% digital, obviously you need to reevaluate all your initiatives and support what's driving the business.
Well, let me ask you this, and then we're going to open it up. We have been getting questions, and I appreciate that from our attendees. If you have any more questions, now is a great time to use the Q&A box to put them in, because we're going to shift to the Q&A session where I'll go through the questions after the next one. We are talking about a Lifeline, and I think all of you have really talked about the Lifeline. I mean, for sure, you all have talked about what you needed to do and what you did with your business. But that Lifeline continues with new opportunities. And so from your perspective of either the changes that you made or the changes that you see going on in the industry, including, by the way, I forget who it was, it might have been Kathy or Eugen, was talking about, the customers connecting, which means you now have data you didn't have before. What are the opportunities going forward, for online? It's not going to go away. So what can you now take advantage of, and what do you see coming for online going forward after this? Any one of you, go ahead.
I think it's going to be here for a long time. People talk that it's going to stay for about a year or two, but in reality, I think everyone's adapted to it by then. My dad's already using online ordering for his groceries to deliver to his house, and that he would not even text me back sometimes, just a yes or no. And now he's using online ordering. And there's a lot of customers that we thought wouldn't have adapted to it, and they did. So for online ordering, delivery, even in restaurant dining, we just have to create that experience that we had in the past. We have very knowledgeable bartenders and server staff that knows our menu, that knows our drinks, and they can custom make drinks for you. So keeping that experience and at the same time getting served with someone who looks like they're wearing a hazmat suit, we got to find the balance somewhere. That's something that we all have to learn how to do. We're pretty much copying off of each other, to be honest. So any insight anyone has, we take into consideration, whether it's feedback from our staff or feedback from someone in the industry or outside of the industry. It's everything.
So Kathy, to that point, you actually are connected with a lot of technology and operators in the Southern California area. Is there something that somebody's doing that you've seen or heard about that you said, aha, that's really cool?
I think everyone's trying to find someone to test it. And if you wait too long, you might fall behind. So that's why we wanted to try to see if we can maybe move forward with a partner. Having good partnerships and good vendors is key, because we had no idea what to do when we started online ordering and even in dining ordering. And we had good partners with our POS. We had good partners with our ISP, and the low voltage guy is my best friend. I buy him lunch anytime he comes. So having good partners is gonna keep you, afloat, and having good employees. And if they're happy, then your guests will see it as well.
Okay, Robert or Eugen?
Well, I was just gonna say, online ordering today, it's probably here to stay. If not, it's gonna grow time over time. Everyone's using it. It's kind of like for that 2-month time frame, it was their only means of getting food from a restaurant or outside their normal workspace or their normal space itself. I think it'll just evolve eventually. Especially in the restaurant industry, I'm going to revert back to some of the older technologies that people used to use. I mean, look at a reservation. Everyone used to use a book, right? They used to handwrite everything, and they used to use this dry erase board and make notes. Well, online ordering, online reservations took care of that and made it all electronic. Ordering today, you take a phone call, you put it on a piece of paper, and then you hand it to the kitchen. That's evolved today as well. Now you've got multiple different avenues to make ordering possible. So, realistically, I see more evolution happening. The more people are using it, the more we as restaurateurs are letting the companies know what we want, how we can fine tune it, what we can get better out of it. It's only going to probably evolve to a better system. And, that's where we're waiting to see whether or not we can make that evolution happen and then capture it back within our systems and be able to offer that guest service. And or Robert, your idea is great. I mean, that is like an amazing idea in thoughts of trying to offer that Uber level service, right? You can get like a helicopter service to deliver you a champagne dinner right to your rooftop. Hey, if that is an option and that's something we can do, we'd be happy to do it. But on the opposite side of things, right, if you're the type that just wants a good meal, a hamburger or a steak or something that's delivered to you, and you don't really care and you just want the $5, $15 delivery service fee, that is an amazing idea. I think you should pitch it. But yeah, that could be an evolution.
Well, you can bet that the providers are going to have to pivot. Plus, they learn from other industries. Kathy mentioned grocery. The people that did grocery delivery do some things differently. The people that do, like Amazon, do things differently. But they're all, I think, trading technology and learning from each other. Robert, you get the last one on this one of just things going forward.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the mix ends up being, right, between digital and in-store. I think maybe it'll settle 50-50 in the fast casual space. It remains to be seen, but I think the digital mix will be a significant chunk of the business. The other is around safety. Safety will continue to be a concern and a focus point for our employees as well as for our guests. So things like having plexiglass and wearing masks and those sorts of things, they're not going to go away anytime soon. So, and I think the more you can do that, the better shape you'll be in. And then the last point I wanted to make around the online experience is that as more and more brands are doing this, you start seeing that experience getting better and better and better. And if you're not keeping up, it's going to hurt you. So there's going to be a lot of competition around making that a great experience. And again, not just for the guests, but also for your employees. You want to make it easy for them. So, so I think that's where we're going to continue.
So obviously there's going to be that opportunity in the training side. I'm glad you brought up food safety, because it's not just how to handle in store, but we're seeing now a lot of pickup on food safety and supply chain, as well as more focus on temperature monitor. We're temperature monitoring employees, but more focus on temperature monitoring and other things on the food safety piece. And we are seeing some changes, for sure, as Robert, you've just pointed out, in those areas. So we've got a lot of questions that have come in. I want to take us back to the beginning of the discussion. A number of you mentioned that you may have had some integration challenges in there, but then at the same time, some of you mentioned that your suppliers were great and they already had the parts and pieces you needed, or I guess the relationships. Can you talk a little bit more about the challenges or advice you would give if somebody is adding in new online experiences, which may evolve over time, with your existing systems and with your suppliers, what those challenges were and what maybe advice you would give?
For us, we had a limited time to do our research. So we had about maybe less than a week before we had to shut down our dining rooms. And the best advice I can give is to shop around. Shop any vendors you may have known about or that someone may have told you about. Maybe give them a call, do a demo. There's a few that our colleagues know about or that they're using, so we can use them as references. Many restaurants in the Southern California area, they use varied type of online ordering. Olo is obviously the biggest one, but there's so many other little ones that we can use as well. And some of them are willing to customize for you. So for us, I think we went through like 10 demos and decided, okay, these are our top 2. We'll work with these vendors to see what we can get out of our online ordering and dining experience. And from there, I think we're close to rolling out something, but we haven't decided on what yet.
I would assume that you, in looking at them, made sure that whomever you were looking at already integrated or interfaced with your POS.
Correct. That was a must-have, because if we don't have the integration, then it's not going to happen. We don't want our team to be bringing orders in. So after we got the online ordering integration completed, even our managers were saying, oh, then can we do the same thing for third party? And eventually we will. But once they have the taste of direct integration, you can't go back.
And Eugen, I think you also mentioned some integration challenges.
Yeah, it's the POS hardware world that you live in, and all restaurants face this challenge, right? If you have a POS, does the best of the best play nicely with your POS, or does it only play nicely with a different type of POS? So a lot of the things that we found a lot of great options for online delivery, but then when we tried to make it a seamless end-to-end solution, we found that the two didn't play nicely. It's either A, we had to substantially upgrade our hardware to a different platform on POS, or the vendor just didn't have that capability to putting through, or we had to use a third party to go through to channel the integration all the way through. So I think one of the tips that you want to look at is from your start to finish, what your ideal solution would be. You want to take that pathway all the way through from the software to the integration point to the POS side of things, and figure out what your next steps are going to be, and make sure that you test everything along the way. That's where we're at right now. We're in that testing phase, and a lot of the companies that made us great promises. And don't get me wrong, we love every company, and I'm so grateful that everyone gave us the opportunity and helped us along the way. But at the same time, there were a lot of promises that they were made, and I don't think they meant unintentional, reasons. They just assumed that everything would work. Well, we
should recognize that the vendors also had to pivot during this. Some of them, some had all-in-one solutions, or they had best in breed where they had integrations, or they had both. We probably will see a bigger push right now in the POS space to off-premise cloud-based POS, and people who were scared of it before probably realize now that if they're that way, that the integration might be a little bit easier for them. Robert, I don't think you mentioned that you had integration issues in it. That may be because of the platform and how you're staging going forward.
Yeah, we never have any technology issues. Technology always works, right? All kidding aside, though, we have some great partners, technology partners that were moving in that direction. You know, with the shift towards digital ordering, our online ordering partner and our POS partner and our loyalty partner, we're doing a lot of things and accelerating their development to give us some of the things that we were looking for to launch some of our digital channels. So that was great. Also, I have a great IT team. They really know their stuff, and they are just awesome. I can't say enough great things about them. So as these releases were coming out, these enhancements, which were much needed, yeah, you know, when they're developing new features, there's always bugs that get through, and so there's bumps along the way, but you know, we managed through them, and it wasn't anything significant. The one big issue, though, is scale. For these digital partners, if you think about it, you know, some of them quadrupled the volume in just a matter of days. People shifting to digital ordering, right? And could their servers, their networks, their infrastructure keep up with that heavy volume? So that was a bit of a struggle to get through. And it's not just the Olos of the world and what have you. It's even the third-party deliveries like the DoorDashes, and you know, they struggle to keep up with that heavy volume. And it took them some time to get there. But yeah, scale was the biggest issue. And to be fair, you know, you could kind of understand. I mean, they quadrupled in some cases the volume. So you know, it's tough. You know, who saw this coming? Nobody. So yeah.
Well, listen, we're at the top and the end. We didn't get to all the questions, so I can promise you that we will go ahead and continue to answer some of the questions that are here. And I'm looking at them, and there's just really great ones that came in. We could probably spend another hour on this. I learned a lot from this. You know, I've actually just made a list of some key words here. And Robert, I think you summed up quite a few of them in your piece there. But bandwidth is something that Kathy talked about, the partnerships with the suppliers that are out there, scale, which was just mentioned. We didn't even get into the franchisor franchisee you know, scenarios, which actually create some additional things there. We've talked about third party today and third party integration and where they're going to evolve in there. Integration is certainly a challenge and needs to be considered up front when you're adding in any kind of online. And also, I've heard some new words and some new focus areas. I think that it's very important as we think of the online future, the HR side of it, and teaching a new way of business, food safety for sure. But I think the one thing that each one of our panelists today really focused on because of their companies is their culture, how their employees are working, and on top of it all, really how to maintain unique guest experience, because that is something that if they put it in the hands of some other people, they still need to maintain that experience and things that makes them different. So hopefully for our panel, I've summarized that for you. I want to thank each of our panelists today for participating. We were very lucky to get a diverse group coming from different areas. You will see their email addresses on the bottom of this screen, and they would be happy if you want to reach out to them and to continue to provide some of their guidance. And certainly, at least with Eugen and Kathy, they can help you provide that guidance through the IFBTA, and maybe at some point we also will be doing that in Seattle as well. There is more information available and resources at the IFBTA, also the National Restaurant Association, your state associations, and food and beverage shows. So I do want to thank our panelists. If we could go to the next slide. We have one more Tech Thursday coming up, and that will be next Thursday, of course, at 3 p.m. East Coast. And we have Nando's and the Farmers Group that are on, which are rather unique people in different spaces. We'll be talking about the customer connection. So I think that's going to be a great follow-on from what we talked about today. And then the next slide, please. And then, unfortunately, we were not able to meet in person in California or in Florida in September and October, in August and September. And hopefully we will all be able to meet again locally through the IFBTA, but also the major industry events. So in place of those, there's going to be Live at Your Table, which is going to have 4 different segments on August 24th. Those segments are an independent segment, food service on-site segment, the multi-unit segment, and retail. Those are full segments, of which technology is just one session in each. And you'll see the technology is going to be presented from 11 to noon West Coast. And on each one of them, we'll be focusing on technology in those segments. So again, on behalf of Clarion, the Western, the New York, and the Florida Restaurant Show, Tech Bites, and of course the IFBTA, we want to thank you for attending today, and we hope you will join us next week as well. And thank you so much to our panelists. Have a great day.